welcome back to another episode of the Gritty Hour. It's like nine degrees out. We're having a Mets hot stove report tonight. We have two venerable guests, maybe three, but right now we have two. We have Rich Del Valle, who is a coach himself. He's on the board in Salesian High School, and he knows all about the Mets. He's a lifelong Met fan. And the venerable Sean E. Boy is coming back. This time he's going to host this show. We may have Rich's son, Keith Del Valle, who's also a renowned coach. He may or may not pop in later on in this podcast. But I'm going to pop out because I'm going to leave you with this Met logo, which is actually bigger than my head, which I like. And, if you're not talking about Bud Harrelson or Ed Kranepool or Jerry Grody, I'm going to be not useful for this conversation. So, Shawnee boy, I'm going to turn it over to you and have yourselves a fun and talk about the $100 beer you got to pay for in Citi Field.
Hey, you got it, T. Thanks for the warm introduction. Rich, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Like we said, this is more of a conversation. There's no host.
Sure.
But this is all about the Mets, and I know you're a lifelong Met fan since '62. Is that the year you were born back then?
Yeah. Tom and I are the same age, and
That's why I know.
I probably figured it out in the 1973 run, even though I saw the 1969 run.
Did you used to go to those games in '69?
73. 73 was when I started really heading, and I would live downtown, and in 1969, the Mets traded for a first baseman called Don Clendenin, and that's when they reached the pinnacle. He was like the big bat that they brought on, and he used to park his his purple Dodge Charger in the garage right next to our building. It was cool. I would see him come out.
Of course, when a kid, and you get to see stuff like that. I mean, that makes everything.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got a text from
Tom.
Yeah, right. I'm like,
he's not hosting the show, but he's texting anyway.
He educated me as a young kid. I'm gonna be honest with you, I was forced into being a Met fan. I'm not upset about it, but that's just kind of how it went. And so I know about the '69 and '73, and Grody's the best catcher ever. No, Grody's right fielder.
He's catcher.
And Swoboda, an amazing catcher,
right?
And all the so I know like all the different things that he kind of like him and Uncle Steve, who like they all taught me about. '86 Mets was my first year. That's the first year I went to a game. '86.
That was a different team. That was a different team.
I went to the last game of the season that year. That was my first game ever at Shea. And I'll never forget, when you came out of the tunnel, you saw the green field. That's a moment I always remember for sure.
Yeah. And what makes good teams is characters.
Yeah.
And the Mets had a ton of characters in '86, and obviously, with Keith Hernandez. In fact, they just had some kind of hot stove thing in White Plains here in New York, where Steve Cohen was hosting a lot of the '86 guys, like Kevin Mitchell, Darryl Strawberry was there, Gooden was there.
Was it also like a meet and greet, or was it just more of a thing?
Well, it was a thing. So today at Citi Field they had the Mets a meet and greet, where they fan fest, I guess. And they usually he's done that the last 2 years. So Steve Cohen is trying to, obviously bring people in.
Yeah, he's done a great job. I've been a season ticket holder since 2002.
Right.
Me and my brother, we just stopped it. This 2024 was the last time we did it. We kind of moved too far away from the stadium for it to kind of make sense anymore.
Right.
But from when Steve Cohen took over to now, the stadium, it's kind of on steroids. He's done a great job of like with the lights and the digital stuff and making it more fan friendly and the food. Like he's done a really, really good job. But the negative is like, everything is 100% increase.
Yeah.
It's no longer $8. Those days are
No,
completely.
no, that's out. Well, parking's like 40, so
Yeah,
no
parking's 40.
50.
I don't drink. I don't drink, but I'll get like a cheese steak and a soda or whatever. It's $25. You're
Oh
just like,
yeah.
all right, you know. So as much as it's been a nice change, he's to have a billionaire owner and he's spending money. He's getting guys like Juan Soto, which we'll talk about soon. There's a price to pay for it too, though, for sure.
Yeah,
As a
yeah.
customer.
And obviously the long range plan over there at City Field, and when Tom and I would go, well, there actually would be six or seven of us that would go to games. We'd either take the train or the Q44 bus, sorry. Q44 bus, which would leave you in Flushing, and you'd walk across the bridge
Oh,
that connected Flushing with Flushing Meadow Park. And what Steve Cohen has done is he's actually bought a lot of those properties because he's in the process of either getting a casino license and the soccer stadium that's going to go right across the street.
yeah,
Going to be really pretty dramatic.
yeah. From the I mean, I know half of the chop shops are still there, but from as we both know what it used to look like in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Yeah, you could see like where it's headed, and it's going to be NYCFC, right? The New York City Football Club.
NYC, right, right. The ones that
Yeah.
are playing in Yankee Stadium now.
Yeah, when's that going to be ready? In 26?
3 to 4 years is what they're saying.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
well, anyway, how'd you feel about last season? Because obviously that was from where it
it
started
was
to how
tremendous.
it was amazing.
Yeah, it was quite the ride. I mean, it was just it reminded me not of '86 so much, but of the whole feeling because you could see that the town was getting behind them.
Yeah.
And, with obviously with the Yankees involved, there was thoughts of maybe having another Subway Series, but didn't work out.
Didn't it did not. Um, I don't know how you feel about the Subway Series. Like having another one, I just don't. I'm not interested in the stress of that. Yeah, 2000. Like even though like we kind of got, they kind of beat us pretty
Yeah.
handily. Right? Even but game one, like game one was 1-1 extra innings. Like if you
Hmm.
didn't see 2000's game one, it was we were winning in the ninth too, which is hard to say, but the stress.
How did you, well, let me ask you this. How did you find the Dodger series? Did you not, was that not stressful?
Oh yeah, so I would say, I mean, the Brewers series was stressful. The Philly series was stressful, and we beat them pretty easily.
Yeah, that was easy.
There's never a playoff game where I can just sit down and enjoy it. I have to get up. I'm a pacer. That's why I like to walk. I like to watch it by myself because I feel like I'm just bugging people. I understand, like I need to be in my own space.
Right, right, right.
So I think every single series becomes stressful. The Dodgers series, I thought we played them pretty good considering.
Yeah.
They just they pitched. We couldn't pitch against them. Their lineup was just too good.
Yeah, well, because their lineup grinds. Their lineup was like the '86 Mets, where they would grind out at bats. Every at bat was almost like everybody treated it as though it was their last at bat.
Yeah,
And there were no free pitches. You couldn't get, you were either walking the guy, or they were hitting you.
yeah, and the top three or four hitters is you're like Otani, who didn't even do like he
No,
had a decent season if we look back at the stats, but he wasn't like the guy. It was Mookie Betts. It
yeah,
was that kid Edmund. I
yeah.
mean, this kid,
Tommy Edman, yeah, Tommy Edman and Kike Hernandez were the two killers.
right, and I mean Freeman didn't play too much against us, but then he
No,
obviously he tore it up against the Yankees. But
right,
it was
right.
such a nice surprise. It was such a nice, like I felt like once we got to the Dodgers, it was the expression house money. So I
Yeah.
was like,
Well,
oh,
it was. It was. They weren't supposed to go this far. It was just lucky to get into the playoffs.
yeah. I mean, because they kind of sneaked in, like not sneaked in, but they squeaked in. Like it took it
They
to the last
squeaked
day.
in. Yeah,
They had
yeah.
that crazy doubleheader against the Braves. And then I mean, we're gonna talk about Alonso probably next, but like his home run against the Brewers was, I mean, the Mets don't do that. They don't hit a 3-run home run in the ninth down two. Like
No,
that's
no.
usually not their MO. Like you're just like, wow, this it was different. It felt different.
Other than '86, because in '86 they all had, again they grinded out at bats, and like they would just have lightning in a bottle in the last end of the games, and that's what I saw in a lot of what they did last year. I don't know if they're going to have that this year. I mean, I think they're going to be. They kind of have positioned themselves almost like a each at bat out type of team because that's what Soto does. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I thought Lindor again, and we'll talk about him. I thought he did a better job last year of being uh more patient. He was more patient at the plate last year. I mean, he almost won the MVP. He came in second,
right,
right?
right,
I thought he finally became our captain. He's the
yeah,
captain, you know.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
which leads me into Alonso. Alonso, like there's been all this talk over the whole offseason. At the end of the day, he's been the leader of the Mets for 4 or 5 years. I think Lindor has kind of taken that from him, not in a
Mhm.
bad way. Um, how do you feel about what's going on? Like, you want him back?
I think I'd like to see him back because I think he's a good clubhouse presence. The issue is it's always about the money. Even though Steve Cohn, has tons of it, what he would give out in this contract is probably one day's worth of Steve Cohn's, brokerage house profit. So, I guess with Alonso, I think the worst thing that he did was hire Boris because Boris, while he always likes to get you the top money, um, I don't know if Alonso's a top money kind of guy.
Yeah, it's unfortunately in baseball, and I don't know if you agree, like, 30 is like the contract. It's like it's the deadliest number for wanting a new
Mhm.
contract. Because as an owner, I'm like, you got 5 years, maybe,
Right,
and they all want 30 million and 35 million, and it's the owner's fault too. Like, it's everybody that's created this world today that we live in baseball of a Soto contract or a Judge
right.
contract. I get it, like they're amazing, but
Well, you think of it, so you know who does it right is the Braves
yeah,
because the Braves sign a guy like Alvarez, our catcher, right? I mean, they would if he was on the Braves, they would have locked him up already
yeah, you get them early.
because yeah, you pay low on the front end, and by the time at the end of his contract, you're not paying market price. Like Acuna is not being paid at a market price. I think
He's also amazing, but the last 3 years he's missed two of them,
yeah, he gets hurt a lot. He does get hurt a lot.
which makes the Braves even seem like more of a genius, right? You're like, we locked this great guy up, but we know he's of a 6 year contract. He might, and that's almost, let's call it 1,000 games. He's only going to play 600 of them.
Right, right, right.
So,
Yeah.
so back to Alonso. I don't know if we should sign him. Like, if we signed him, I'd be very happy. I don't know if he's declining or not. I'm not sure because if you look at his numbers,
Yeah, the
the year,
last 2 years.
yeah, he's starting to go the other way. And
Right,
I'm not
right.
saying he couldn't rebound. He's only 30, 31, whatever he is. His defense is at best average.
Yeah. But he's gotten better because he was
Yeah,
terrible when he started.
he's got much better compared to who he was. So in my mind, I'm trying to understand this guy Stearns, right? We've known him for what, a year or
Hmm.
so. You can look at the Brewers' history. Like, in my mind, I'm like, he's just gonna move Vientos to first and see what Acuna,
And
Mauricio, or Beatty
and
can do.
Beatty can do. Right, right.
Why break the bank on a headache of a contract when Vientos isn't that far behind Alonso's numbers last year?
No, no, he's not. He's not. But the question is there going to be a sophomore jinx?
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And then because it always seems to happen. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
I don't know. I
people
think
make
he's ready.
adjustments.
He seems like he's ready, but
I hope so because that would be a hell of a roll bankroll to do if you rent without an Alonso. Now, I guess the other thing will be if they pick up a pitcher like a Luis Castillo from Seattle, and Seattle wants Beatty. So if you're giving up Beatty, you're giving up basically your third baseman, one of your third basemen. Acuna is not a third baseman. They were talking about McNeil possibly going to third.
He could. He's played it before.
Yeah, he's played it before, but he doesn't like it. He likes every place else except third. And then you have Mauricio, who's like we don't know what he's going to be like. I
Yeah,
mean, he's a stud when he's out there, but the
just
problem is he hasn't been out there.
yeah. Yeah, it's nice to have those options. I feel like the Mets have done such a good job with their farm system
Yeah,
over the last 3 to 4 or 5 years.
yeah,
I even heard that pitcher Sprout being named in possible trade.
yeah,
But
yeah.
we'll talk about the young guys in a second. So, with Alonso, do you think what I want to talk about was I don't know if obviously you know Conforto, but Conforto went through the same thing.
Hmm.
He took on Boris. The Mets offered him 4 years, 100 million.
Right.
Passed, broke his arm or something, and got hurt in the offseason. And then
Yeah,
he's had like a half a cup of coffee since in the major
yeah,
leagues.
yeah. And
Like,
now he's on the Dodgers.
yeah. Right. With Alonso, I'm like, if no one else is going nuts about him, that just to me that just says something.
Well, I guess it sounds like it's Toronto. Toronto and Detroit are the two. The question is, do you and nobody wants to pay him for 5 years. And last year the Mets put on the table the 5-year contract of 150 or whatever. He turned it down because he thought he was worth 200.
Yeah,
So he took a gamble on himself and, didn't work out. Doesn't mean that he's not worth, something to the tune of maybe 20 to 25 million. I just think that 3 years is probably the max that Stearns would go out at.
yeah. Did you well, yeah, that's why I brought up the Conforto thing because of what you said about Alonso. Last year he passed up on $30 million a year for five
Right?
years.
Right?
Uh, which I knew, but that's when that happened, I was like, this is going to be a problem in the offseason in 2024, 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The big thing with Alonso, he needs to consider that yes, New York is a high state tax, and Toronto's even worse because Canada, it's like 45 or 50%.
wow.
So that being said, where's he going to make the extra money or the promotional money? Which in New York, he does ice cream commercials, he does SNY commercial. I mean, he does have that good personality.
Yeah, he does. He does. I mean, I want him back. I'm trying to, I guess I'm trying to figure out would I be upset if he didn't come back? I'm not sure.
A lot of people that would be upset at because he's a homegrown talent. You know.
Yeah. You know, which kind of goes into, we replaced him with Juan Soto,
Yeah, basically, yeah.
and he's a far better overall hitter. I'm not going to say he's an amazing defender. I don't. I'm going to be honest. I've heard he's okay in right field. He's not terrible.
He's okay. Yes.
Yeah, but he's. I mean, you can move him to DH, but when it comes to at the plate, besides Otani and Judge, there's no one better in baseball.
No, no. The plate discipline, his OPS, all that stuff is, that and Stearns is a numbers kind of guy, so he looked at that. And I think, by Steve Cohen in the 11th hour getting involved, that just pushed it over to where nobody else was going to go. And obviously, none of the money got deferred, which I don't understand. The Dodgers did such a good job with the deferment.
Does that still
Basically,
go against the cap though? Otani
no, no.
to
He
me
only took.
that
So I say he's got 2 million. He makes like $2 or $4 million, and then everything else is deferred towards 2,100 or whatever the hell it is.
that just gets a little concerning for uh baseball being competitive when you can do stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I know
and
the
that.
Mets and Yankees and certain teams can still hold their weight, but like a team like the Royals, right? They got the Bobby Witt guy, and you could tell
Hmm.
the playoffs are starting to build. But that's a 3 year window,
Yeah, yeah.
and then
Or
they can only pay Bobby Witt and one other guy. And why would Bobby Witt want to stay if he can't be a part of like a big team?
yeah, they probably need to start adding that deferment money
To the
to the
cap,
to the cap. Yeah,
like you
'cause
could defer, but it has to go towards the cap.
Yeah, somebody that Tom and I both know, Bobby Bonilla. I mean,
Yeah.
he's still being paid on July 1st every year till I think 2035.
Yep. So,
He
yeah.
hasn't played baseball in 15 years.
I mean, he's pretty much got a baseball pension from a team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much, pretty
pretty
much.
much at one point, whatever $1 million it is. I don't know the
And he's
number.
a Bronx guy, so we like that.
Yeah. Did you guys? Did
We
you guys?
played against him. Yeah, we played against him. I actually walked him when he
Uh,
played for Lehman High School.
yeah. Was he a beast in high school?
He was, and the other one that they had was Pedro Bourbon. Son was on that same team. All the scouts would actually go to see him, not Bonilla.
Wow. Yeah. And that guy Pedro never made it, right?
I think he did a cup of coffee in the majors. You know, it's like anything else. You have a father that brings you up through the system, and he becomes the next great thing. Like
To me,
Vladimir Guerrero,
I mean,
another
to me,
guy we should talk
it's
about.
just to any kind of professional level. I mean, it's just I would guess it's more of a mental thing, like the belief that you're going to be great or you can do this or whatever, the confidence of it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and then we and during the coaching that I've done, we get a lot of players who have retired, and then they become parents. So now they got to bring their kids to school, and at Salesian we've had a bunch of like Randy Tavares. Uh, we've had Sterling Marte's nephew. Uh, we just get those kids that are looking for a place they can ground themselves from the DR to then play to the next level, which is either college or get drafted.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great though. That's cool. Um, are you happy about Soto?
I am. I think it was worth the money. I think, by adding, but I'm not happy because you do need that bat behind him. Like Judge was a big bat behind him, and he got all those pitches because now there's a man on first and second, so you got no place to put Judge. So
Yeah.
you got to pitch to him, and that's where Alonso would have come in.
I agree. I'm thinking if we don't it's going to be Lindor, Soto 2,
Yeah,
Vientos 3, and Nimmo 4. That's kind of how I'm seeing
right, right. That's probably where it's going. Yeah.
it. And
And
then
then you
5
still got Sterling Marte. You got
Alvarez.
whoever plays center field that day, Alvarez,
I, Center field. They got Taylor. Yeah, yeah. They got Taylor. Who else they got? They can
Siri, Siri. But
Yeah,
don't
they
say it
got
too loud because then my phone will catch and give me
they
something else.
Rays, right?
Siri guy was from the Royals, I believe,
Oh, from the Royals. Okay.
or Tampa. No, Tampa. Sorry, Tampa.
Tampa, yeah. Yeah, but I think Soto was, I think you had to do that move.
Yeah,
And, Um,
yeah,
I don't think it really affects us economically if they need to make another big move. It's just the back end, which already hurt us once, is if you get to that next threshold in the uh in your salary cap, right?
The,
You
the the
do
Mets are actually lower in salary cap at the salary cap right now than they were last year.
Well, that's Verlander and Scherzer played a
Yeah,
part in that.
thank God.
Yeah, I know. But you
And
you do get penalized in draft picks though. You lose
yeah,
10 starts, which is a lot. That could be a
yeah,
lot. So
yeah, especially in
they,
the international draft.
say that again.
Especially in the international draft when you start losing money and players. And that's what the Dodgers did. The Dodgers had to make a trade to get international money so that they could sign Sasaki.
Okay, yeah. We'll see about him. I'm not. He may be great, but like a lot of people are like he went. Of course he went to the Dodgers, but he's. We'll see. We'll see. You know.
What do you
Besides,
what do you think about Senga?
yeah.
Speaking of Japanese plays.
I mean, his rookie season as a Mets was great,
Yeah.
and then last year he just couldn't stay healthy. So I mean, I'm gonna go with the idea that if he's healthy, he's gonna be really good.
He's the wild card.
Yeah, yeah. If he's good, that changes the landscape of our team.
So,
Because then you
so,
have,
so, do you think that they should go after an ace?
I think that's more of like July, like mid-season at the trading deadline. You try to get a pitcher. I think you see what Senga, Manaya, who if that new approach pitching like Sale is legit and that really is like going to help him become dominant, then all of a sudden you have a 1A and almost a 1B if Senga's healthy.
Right,
I
right.
really believe in McGill. I think he's really going to turn the corner at some point. I think he's going to be excellent.
Hmm.
Peterson is good. I'm not sold on the fact that he's going to be an all-star. I think he's just going to be a good pitcher now. And then we
The only
got
the, the only thing about Peterson is he went through a lot of really difficult innings last year.
yeah.
I mean,
He
he cleaned up Milwaukee. He cleaned up. I think he didn't he make get a save in Philly
he made
when
a save
when
in
that
one of the playoff series, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
and then he pitched the ninth inning in Milwaukee. Just to shut it down.
He really turned the corner. He's 28 too, so some
Yeah,
pitchers, it takes a little bit longer for them to figure it out.
yeah, yeah. It
Uh,
clicks late in life.
yeah. And then Freddie Montes, I like him.
Freddie Monte is a good pickup because I think Jeremy Hefner will do some work, because they have that pitching lab down in Florida with the Mets, and supposedly it's just as good as the Dodger.
Yeah,
And if you think about it, the Dodgers, I mean, they did it with a lot of relief pitchers.
yeah. They took the modern approach to the playoff run. Like
Yeah, yeah,
they,
yeah. Five or
which
six guys.
yeah, which isn't fun for me. I don't enjoy that as much to watch. Like I miss. I know it's not going to be like that, but I miss the start of going 6 to 8,
Right.
and then like 2 or 3. But whatever. I mean, I know baseball changes, every sport changes, so. But the starting pitcher is kind of slowly dying.
Slowly, yeah, yeah. Basically, the Dodgers are piecemealing it together. So, every guy goes one or two. And if you think about it, you could go one or two and you can do that 4 days a week.
Yeah, 100%. And if you learn how to like match it up right, like so you're only really seeing a pitcher one time, so you're not
Right,
getting comfortable throughout
right.
but on the flip side is you're asking 4 to 5 pitches every night to be consistent. That's hard to do
Right.
too.
That's very hard to do. Every night is different for especially for a pitcher.
Yeah. So I don't. Oh, I think over the course of 162, that's not the best approach. But in a 7 game series, yeah, you can make that work.
I'd like to see, but going back to Alonso, I just think that just having him behind Soto, and Soto has stated that he thinks, and Lindor, they've both said, we need him back. And the last couple of days, it's been Toronto's offering 3 years at 75 million or whatever, or 78 million, and the Mets only went to 60. Now, is this $15 million, is that going to break the Mets over the course of 3 years? I don't think so.
Yeah, you have to figure, like what's the relationship of Boris and Stearns and Boris and Cohen, like what's that conversation like on a consistent basis? Um, are the Mets really pivoting? Because you hear that they may try to grab Vlad Guerrero. Is that real? You know?
I think they have made inquiries about that
Yeah.
because he's obviously a free agent next year. I don't think he's signing with Toronto because he kind of declined.
That team, for some reason, that team underperformed for the last couple of years. Yeah, you're not
Yeah,
really sure why,
yeah,
but
yeah. That's a tough place to play, unless that team is in the playoffs. Nobody shows up. They
yeah.
just don't get the crowds that they used to get. Uh, and that's part of the problem with baseball is how do they expand it overseas? They've tried, they're trying with the Asia series, and then they go to Europe. I'm not quite sure that that's making it unless you just say, you know what, we're all in. We're going to put 3 teams out in Europe, and let's see what happens.
Does Europe watch it at that level?
Uh, well, it's either that or we go out there to watch it. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if you watch the Mets series, was it last year with the Phillies? I
I
mean,
watched.
they had a good crowd every
Yeah,
game.
yeah. One of
But
my friends, she went. She's a diehard Met fan too. She went. Decided to go.
okay, and
Yeah,
that's I'm not quite sure. Are we doing it for the tourism, or are we doing it to actually anchor teams over there and
yeah.
get the Europeans interested? I
Like I'm
mean,
pretty sure the NFL wants to anchor teams
right?
in those spots. I don't know like how that works, but
If you put two teams, three teams in Japan, they probably. I mean, those people love baseball.
yeah.
Japan, Taiwan, Korea. They all have their own leagues, but you put an MLB team in any of those places and call it the far, far west.
That's a trip though. That's a trip.
Yeah, tell me about it.
That's a trip. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess in my mind, I kind of moved on from Alonso, I guess, to a certain degree. But I don't. I would be super happy if they got him. I don't love the what him and Boris offered. I think rubbed them the wrong way, and I'm sure they rubbed him the wrong way as well. I'm not saying they didn't, but like when he asked for 3 years, 90 or 91, whatever, and then he
Right,
wanted to
right.
opt out after year one, you're like, all right, man, like, you know,
Yeah. And I'd give him the opt-outs. I think, obviously he wants to increase his value. And so for the Mets, it's basically it's a 1 year rental. And, you hope for the best. And if he has a great year, he moves on, but at least you got one great year out of him. And if it doesn't work out, you're going to get stuck with at least, 3 years of an average guy.
well, if he plays 1 more year for the Mets, he's going to break the Mets home run record.
Yes, he will.
He's like
Yes, he will.
33 away or something,
Yeah,
34.
yeah,
That's his
yeah.
low. So I think he'll get the Mets home run record, which would be nice. That I feel like the Mets statistical history is just not
Not
something.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like you look at, like, I mean, obviously the Yankees are ridiculous, but if you look at some of these other teams, like we don't have a 300 home run hitter.
No,
We
no, we
don't.
don't. No, we
Yeah, it's
don't. And Alonso would be that guy.
yeah, he would. Yeah, he's going to get the
Given,
four.
yeah,
Four.
given 2 years or 3 years, he can get to 400, like you said.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, like I love him. Do you know this? Supposedly his grandfather was born in Queens.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
heard that.
he has like a connection to the city, which makes it even more that you want him there and all that. I just don't. I don't know. I mean, pitchers and catchers in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. Two
You
and
know,
a half weeks. That's
yeah,
right.
he's not like some. He's a main piece.
Yeah. Yeah. But, sometimes these things, I mean, what I hear is a lot of February 3rd through the 4th is when they will most likely decide or pull the trigger on it.
Oh, okay, all right. So then, how do you feel about the young core of this Mets team? That's really like you can see them becoming. They're going to become the team. They're going to become the Mets.
Yeah. The young core is good. Now the question is who actually is the young core? They have a catcher. They have Vientos. Now, is Beatty included in that? The last 2 years of Beatty has been just okay. You know, he doesn't hit. He just doesn't hit major league pitching. You put him down in the minors, and he runs roughshod over him. But it's the major league pitching that and I don't know how long it takes to click with hitters, but there's something there that it's just not clicking for him.
Yeah, because
And
he's probably what 23, 24 now, somewhere around there.
he's 24,
Yeah,
and then you got Acuna. Acuna, I mean, what you saw of him last year and battle tested. I mean, those were tough situations he was in.
yeah. I think
Uh,
he's going to be a stud. I think you
yeah,
keep him. You know,
but where do you play him? He can't be a shortstop.
well, I think McNeil's got one foot out the door.
Well, okay, but you still have another third for second baseman if you keep Beatty because you have Mauricio because you got to find a place for
Yeah,
him too.
it's the same thing with like a Jet Williams and who's one of the top
Jet
prospects.
Jet Williams, yeah. So
And then you
one of
got
those guys are going to get one of those guys, or maybe two of those guys are going to get traded.
yeah, they have to. Yeah, and I would guess when we do make the move for a pitcher in mid-season, they're going to package those kind of guys.
Right, right.
Yeah. Supposedly the Sprout kid's supposed to be really good, so I hope they
Yeah,
don't trade that pitcher. the one weakness of the Mets is, and it's usually their strength. I mean, even though Hefner does an amazing job every year, is like we don't have like that ace. We don't have
Yeah.
that
Now
top guy.
Sprout's an ace. He's an ace.
So
But the thing with Sprout will be he probably isn't ready till mid-season. So by that time, you'll have figured out if Montas is worth it. You
yeah,
know, if he's like Mania from last year, uh, or if you need, or maybe Peterson falls apart or McGill falls apart, and he would be the guy you bring up. The other one is, and he's on the injured list right now, is Walker. Christian Walker is
oh yeah. I think he's
probably.
coming back this year though.
Yeah, he's not coming back, but he probably will start working out towards the end, mid to end of the year. And at that point, maybe you have a guy that just throws one inning. Maybe he's a reliever.
Yeah, yeah. I I think Vientos is solidified. Uh, this center fielder, is it Gilbert? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Gilbert, the left-handed lefty swinger. He's a really good
Yeah,
looking bat.
and we also have that first baseman in the minors. What's his name? I can't think of it right now.
The
He's
first baseman.
he's supposed to be a, a higher
Yeah,
level.
I read something about him. He's on the knocking on the door, but the problem is if you sign Alonso, maybe he's 2 years away.
Yeah,
I
he's
guess if you move Vientos over to first, then you're really not going to have a spot open. I don't know. I think if they don't sign Alonso, I don't think that they're going to bother to trade for anybody. I think they move Vientos to first
yeah, and
and
they
then
have to
go
try
with
out for the other three.
yeah, and then go with the other three. Even though Acuna really belongs in the outfield. I
He's
mean,
up.
the kid's a stud.
What is he like? He doesn't. Is he a center fielder? It doesn't seem like he's a center fielder.
Uh, he could play center field. I mean, he looks better than his brother on defense. It's
Wow.
just that he played. It's just that he played. The infield. He's
Yeah.
got a rocket arm. He's got a good bat. It's probably not as potent as his brother, but it'll come. Those things come.
Yeah, yeah,
It'll.
he's young. I think the key. I've been telling my brother this. My brother this. I think Alvarez is
Yeah,
probably the most important part to the Mets next year.
yeah, yeah.
If we're gonna compete with the Dodgers, we need someone like him to take that next step.
Right. And he's recently married. He got married, and I think he's given the position, and he's actually been working out since like December or November. He
Yeah,
started working out right after the season ended. So, he takes it very seriously. He does take it very seriously. He wants to get better.
yeah.
And
He's a good catcher. He's a
he
very
is.
good.
His only problem is he frames things too much. So he starts, and you hear it from Ron Darling all the time. Why is he on one knee? Why is he on one knee? As the ball gets by him.
Yeah, but because he took he went through such a slump from like July, August into pretty much
Yeah.
into the playoffs, and then actually the last game or two against the Dodgers, he kind of snapped out of it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he just wasn't hitting for power. Whatever, sophomore slump, whatever you want to call it. But if he can find a way to get to 25, 30 home runs and bat 275, he's just such like he's over swinging at like
Right.
such a
That's
consistent rate. I'm like, listen, the best thing for you right now is just punch a ball to right field, like just hit
exactly. Because everybody shifts over that to left field. So
get that out. That that may cover Alonso.
that may, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if he can give us 25, that's a very good uptick from the previous catchers,
Yeah,
including Jerry Grody, who probably only hit about 12 or 15 per year.
in his career.
Per year. He
Oh,
would go maybe 15.
yeah,
He was
That's-
more of a grit guy.
yeah, that I know. And I suppose that he was like the best defensive catcher you could pitch to. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. No, he was. He was. And think about the guys he caught. Tom
yeah,
Seaver, Nolan Ryan.
yeah. Yeah, it's hard to believe that Nolan Ryan, with all those statistical stuff, was a reliever for a couple years before he became a star.
Yeah,
Like, wow, okay, yeah. watched the on Netflix. They had like the Nolan Ryan Express
Yeah,
documentary.
yeah, great.
That one season with the California Angels, you were just like, whoa.
Yeah.
He was just
And
phenomenal.
he's still, so he's like 68 or 69 years old.
Yeah.
He still can throw 75, 80 miles an hour. I mean,
Yeah,
he does first pitch and he's actually warming up before he goes out there.
he's a beat. I mean, him and Tom Seaver, that generation was like throw more, not less.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know when it got to this point, but well, again, in coaching high school, you see, because some of these kids are playing 12 months a year. There is no rest.
That's what I think the biggest thing is.
Yeah, you have to shut it down for at least 2 months.
Yeah, it's a year-round sport. Yeah, every sport now is 12 months. Every sport.
Well, yeah, and then that's okay to work out, but you got to shut your arm down. If you're a pitcher, got to shut your arm down. Give it some rest.
Yeah, especially if you're throwing 90, 85, 90 above.
Yeah.
I heard Pedro once talk about it because he was, 5'10", wasn't like he said
No.
when he started throwing over 95, he said every time I threw it hurt.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was like quick
Sometimes
pain.
you got to pitch through pain, but at some point, you have to give your body the ability to kind of help and cure itself, and then you go back out there.
Yeah. What you what do you think about so the kind of question mark on the team I would say is the bullpen. We haven't we haven't really addressed it. Yeah, I know we got Minter. We got
Yeah.
one pitcher, but we haven't really done too much and it was a problem.
Yeah, I would have preferred Tanner Scott, but Minter obviously came cheaper, and he's just as good. It's kind of same kind of numbers, and basically he's going to be the setup man for Diaz.
Yeah.
Then the question is who runs that seventh inning, whether it's Budo or any of those guys. And Budo could actually come out of the bullpen and start if he had to.
Yeah, it could. I was hoping for another maybe arm or two. I thought they were.
I think there's still some guys out there, and Stanek is the one that I would like to get back.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah,
He was good.
yeah, I'd like to get him back. I don't understand why they haven't done anything before they lose him to somebody.
Yeah, because that guy Riley's gone. He's
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
He didn't really work out too much. But yeah, I mean, I love Diaz, but he wasn't. I don't know if he was just maybe being cautious last year, but he didn't have that same little extra that you would
yeah.
know.
I think he was being cautious. I think when you lose, because that's really your core and your legs are the two biggest things to
Yeah,
pitching. And if you don't have that, then you don't have the foundation to start throwing. And I could just see that he just was not favoring it, but he was just cautious about it. He's still a lights out pitcher, when it comes to it.
yeah. In the playoffs, he was great, and in the playoffs, he was great. He didn't.
Mm.
He was happy to see that because we haven't really actually seen him in a real playoff run. So I thought he was great. I'm hoping they kind of do because it's a long season, and then like let's say that you go through April and May, and the pitchers aren't really putting together 6 to 7; they're more doing like 4.5 to 6. Come June, you're gassed.
Then you got a problem. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which
So what do you think? What's your prediction? What on wins? Number of wins?
um, you remember 2022 when we won 101 and
Yeah.
it was such a fun thing. I don't care about any of that anymore. If you get to 92 wins, you'll make the playoffs. And that's all that
So,
really matters.
so you think 92 is going to get us in?
Yeah, 92. I think 90 or higher gets you in.
Okay. Wow. So
Yeah.
I figure that they're going to win 93 this year.
Okay. Yeah. I'm thinking 92 to 95 would be a number for
But
me.
but does 93 get you the NL East champion, or does that just get you a wild card?
Um I mean the Phillies didn't do too much this offseason, but they also are still very dangerous. That's a dangerous team. Like
Yeah,
the National League is right now is good. The
yeah.
Cubs. I'll go to the Braves, Phillies, and Mets. And the Marlins and Nationals always are annoying, right? The Cubs,
Cubs, yeah.
Cardinals, even though I had a down year, the Cardinals are the Cardinals. The Brewers have been great. The Pirates are waking up. The Reds are starting to wake up. Not that they're there yet, but and then you have the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Giants are still competitive. The
I
Padres.
actually, I actually think that the Diamondbacks will be playing the Mets in the National League Championship Series
I hope you're right.
because that pitching staff is awesome that they
Yeah,
have.
they're great. Yeah. Christian Walker though, he left, right?
Yeah, he left.
Yeah, he left. Yeah, no, but they're good. I second
And
baseman
they got
Martin's fantastic.
yeah, and you
Yeah,
know they still have Zach Gallen, and he's playing in his contract year this year, so he's going to be performing at a higher level. I think he didn't perform as well last year, and then they signed Burns, Corbin, uh, and they still got their other three guys. They just have a good pitching staff.
yeah.
And
Did Montgomery stay? Is he still there?
Montgomery stayed, right. He's been on the block. You know, he actually doesn't have a spot in
Yeah,
the 5-man rotation.
it's a nice problem to have for the Diamondbacks, right? Yeah, I think 92 to 93 sounds about right with the Mets. I think they get the wild card. I think they're like either 4 or 5,
Hmm.
and they're playing in another 3-game series, which those 3-game series, like that was kind of like we played in one before against the Padres, but you kind of knew we weren't going to win that one after the first game. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just didn't feel right, right?
yeah.
And me and my brother went to the third game in person,
Oh,
and
you did?
it
Okay.
was over in like the second inning. You're like, this is over.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But
It was a disaster.
when you're in one and you feel like you have a chance against the Brewers, like it was like three like that might be the most stressful series I've ever watched in baseball, just because one bad game and it could be over, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Do you like the way they formatted that with the 3 games being at the better team's home? Or do you think they should move it back and forth?
I just think with time and travel, it's too much. So what you would have to do is the lower seed would get a home game one. You're not going to do game one travel. That's a lot and to start the whole playoff run. I feel like that's just a lot, but I have no problem with it. I think home field in baseball isn't like football and basketball. It's a big deal.
Right.
You know, I think football definitely a big deal. Basketball, it's a big deal. Baseball though, like the road team wins all the time.
Yeah. The,
You know,
the the only thing is, you get that last at bat.
yeah, that's the thing.
And
That's it.
and maybe they should think about, okay, so if they want to move it, maybe you make game one goes the home team gets game one, and then the visiting team gets to be at home in the visitors in the top tiers stadium.
That's a good idea.
Just
That's not.
just to give them a chance that because they may be down 1-0,
Yeah,
so or if they're up, then they could actually close it out by them being the home team because batting last is always. I mean, it just helps you out. Obviously, the Mets didn't need that last year with the Brewers because they had to not only get the lead but also hold it.
yeah. That home run that Alonso hit. I mean, if anyone was watching him, how they don't throw him a low and away breaking ball is my like. It's like I'm in my head. I'm like, the only thing you shouldn't throw him is a high fastball, like up, like
Right,
just
right.
love. But whatever. I thank you for that, Devin Williams. I appreciate it.
Well, he's over in the Bronx. You could talk to
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then the last topic I had was uh I think Mendoza is the best manager we've had since possibly Davy Johnson.
Yeah, I would say he is. He's right up there.
He's like for the first time I felt like, oh, we this guy's going to be here for a while.
Now, did you live through Willie Randolph?
Oh yeah. I've
He
so
wasn't bad.
Johnson.
He
Yeah,
wasn't bad.
I don't know what happened there with him. So like '06, because me and my brother were doing season tickets. We were at the Andy Chavez game 7
Right,
Cats game.
right.
We were, and like they were. A lot of people talk about the Beltron swing and miss, but Jose Reyes in the same inning hit a rope into the gap, and unfortunately, Jim Edmonds was playing center field that day, and
Golden Glover.
Yeah, he just caught everything. Any other center fielder, I think that's a triple and we win the game.
Right, right.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, and then the next year they kind of just ran him out, because he lost that 7 game lead,
Yeah.
and I get it, like that sucks, but I still don't really know what happened there with Willie
Mm.
Rand.
I thought he was a good manager, and it was sad to see him go, but because he replaced, was it Jerry Manuel
No, Art Howe,
or Art Howe? Okay, and then Jerry Manuel replaced Willie Randolph.
and then Mickey Callaway, he was a winner,
Oh God,
and then they went to what's his name, Terry Collins.
Terry Collins. Yeah. Well, there's another guy.
Yeah,
He was a good manager.
yeah, he's a good manager. And then from
He
Collins they went into
After Terry Collins, they whoever it was last before Mendoza.
the Yankee third base coach now.
Yeah,
Who's like son or something?
yeah. Yeah,
I
the
forget.
third base coach. I
Yeah,
forgot his name because we wanted to wipe that part
yeah.
of memory. We don't have any memory on that one.
Nah, but but Carlos Mendoza, like, there's something
He's a
very,
good he's a good players coach.
yeah,
And that's kind of what. So we have a kid that actually is their translator. So he travels, 90 games a year, 162 games, either at City Field or away, and he translates for the Spanish guys, whether it's Morte, Alvarez, until he learned English. Alvarez learned English, and his name is Alan. And Alan would actually go and help some of these guys just acclaim, get a claim to how it is in New York, where you could get food, where you could, get the lodging that they need, because some of these guys don't make a lot of money in terms of baseball terms,
yeah,
because
yeah. Like
you're making $300,000-400,000, but you're also paying taxes on that, and then you're paying your agent.
yeah, yeah. And for a lot of those guys, I'm sure they're giving money back to their family and all that
Yeah,
stuff. It's not like they're
yeah,
just like, a lot of them live in I don't know if it's still true, but about 10 years ago, a lot of them lived in Long Island City in those new apartment buildings.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause
I would
that's
say they probably still do.
Yeah, that's what they still do. Yeah.
And then most of them go out to Long Island. The guys that have made it go out to Long Island. Uh, like I think Alonzo actually lives in Manhattan, or he had an apartment in Manhattan. With
Okay. Yeah, he's married, right? He's got a wife.
Yeah, she does a lot with the ASPCA. So she does a lot for animals. And when Scherzer got signed, his wife also was part of that. So they immediately clicked. But then that was real quick.
Yeah, I mean, Verlander and Scherzer, like, obviously Hall of Famers, but at 41 years old, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, there's been talk of Scherzer maybe coming back.
I heard that. Did he pitch last year?
Yeah, he did. He did. Pitched a couple of innings, a couple of games. Just like kind of DeGrom. I missed that guy.
Ah, Jacob DeGrom is the best pitcher I've ever seen. That one before he really hurt his arm. I think it was 2021. After his Cy Youngs, he went through that April to June stretch
Hmm.
where his ERA was like a .6 or whatever it was, and I was just like,
It was
I was telling my
ridiculous.
friends, I'm like, if you're not watching him, you need to start watching his starts. I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but he is ridiculous. But he was just throwing too hard. He was throwing 102 miles per hour.
But what was the smooth? There's guys that really pump it up, and then there are guys that just they just let it go.
Yeah,
And he wasn't. I mean, it wasn't like he was overextending himself. He was just throwing. And they always said to Nolan Ryan when he couldn't find the strike zone, just take it down a notch, throw 97, 98. And you'll get strikes as opposed to just trying to throw 99. And it's some of the things I tell the kids, because everybody tries to overthrow,
yeah, that's
and
normal.
it's all about the number. But you know what? If you find the strike zone, if you're 0-2 on a batter, you could throw him anything in the dirt and he's swinging.
Anything. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, DeGrom was a thing of beauty. He really was.
Yeah,
He was phenomenal. You know, it's unfortunate that what did he pitch in like 61 run games for the Mets and won like
yeah.
10
He
of
didn't
them
win
with
many. Yeah,
some crazy thing. You're like, what? You know?
no offense, but that's what it's all about. It's pitching. That's why I like Arizona because I think they're going to have a lot of 2-1 games.
Yeah.
Then the question is, how do you get those 2 runs? I don't know if they have. Hopefully, they have enough offense to get 2 runs.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot more. You like the new rule changes? Because I was gonna say you see a lot more running now. You know?
Yeah. Oh, wow!
You,
Came back from the bathroom.
yeah,
No,
you know,
so I was over here, and so Grody, Cranepool, Mian, Harrelson, Garrett, Jones, Agee, Staub. Is that what you said?
yeah. Stop.
We didn't even rinse and stuff.
Is that this year's starting lineup?
Rusty stuff, huh? Yeah.
We
Uh,
were
Um,
actually talking, and I was telling Sean that the Mets just had something last night over in White Plains with uh, the '86 Mets. Strawberry, Kevin Mitchell was there. Uh, Obviously Keith Hernandez was there. Darling was there. Gooden. It was
yeah,
amazing, and they all have come back. That's the one thing that Steve Cohen has added to the Met is with the Wilpons we were like the Dodgers, the ex Dodgers. All right, that's great, but they moved out to Los Angeles. The Mets do have a history,
yeah.
and
It was
that's
like
one of the things that Steve Cohen, who's a big fan, he
when
always
the
was.
when the Wilpons owned the team. It was like getting a congressional law passed to retire Seaver's number.
Yeah, and they didn't do it. you
Mm,
know. And it wasn't until Steve Cohen. I mean, he's retired at like 6 numbers already, 7 numbers in the
yeah,
last 4 years, 3 years.
yeah.
yeah.
So it's, I,
David
you
Wright's
know,
on deck too. David Wright this year.
yeah,
I loved
yeah,
Jose Reyes,
Yep.
but I was always pissed off that they gave him number 7. You know,
well, you'll have to get over that one. They're
ah,
not
you know,
retired. They're
the
probably not retiring number 7.
the Crane is always going to be number 1 in my book. So
Yeah. I was asking Rich, because well, T, I know how you feel about it, but I said, small ball is kind of back in baseball a little bit with the running. You like this that they changed the size of the bags, made it a little bit shorter, and then kind of some of these new rule changes, or are you more traditional?
No,
years
no,
ago,
I,
Rich.
I, I like the way it's being played now. I like the small ball era. I do like the small ball. I hated when they shifted in, the infield, the entire infield. That just wasn't good for baseball. And stealing bases all of a sudden now is a in vogue now.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun to watch. Like you have to sell this game to the new generations, and like watching home run or bust baseball can be tough, especially if there's not a home run that day. You're like, all
Right,
right.
right.
Watching hockey 0-0 in the third period, you're like, all right, let's get out of here.
Yeah,
Well, from a pedestrian point of view, I would think that would take a while because a lot of these guys came up through the minors being trained for long ball. And,
It's what's being taught, right? It's the
yeah, the
fundamental.
money the money's in the home is not in the the bunt.
Yeah,
right,
You know.
right. But what the Dodgers did this year was they got a guy like Tommy Edmond, who was bunting, and Kike Hernandez was bunting, hitting to right field, hitting runs, stealing bases. And that's I mean, those two guys really won the entire championship for them. I mean, yes, they had Otani, and yes, they had Hernandez, but those two guys were the kind of glue that just took the game to another level. And when the Yankees, I mean, they fell apart in that one inning. I mean, that was awful. That one inning where they had 5 runs come in, that just, I, you know, I think the Mets could have beaten the Yankees had they gone into the World Series because the Yankees just were just not a good team.
Well, I wasn't here for most of this podcast. I was out doing God's work, as you guys know.
Oh,
Yeah. So what do you think either one of yous or both of yous would be the starting lineup for the Mets, starting with the catcher, work around the infield, and hit me with the outfield?
For in an
Rich,
offensive or defensive mindset.
Well, just you don't have to put it in a batting order. Just tell me who do you think the starting nine will be?
Alvarez, he's not a rookie anymore. Francisco Alvarez, the catcher. I know Rich agrees.
yep.
Third, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know, but if I'm gonna base it on now. We're not gonna sign Alonso, so then Vientos is first, McNeil second, Lindor short, and probably Beatty at third to start the year would be my guess. And then Nimmo left. This guy Siri from the Tampa Bay Rays in center, and then Soto in right, and then the DH is going to be Winker, and then Mauricio might be a DH. We'll kind of see how that goes. That would probably be the starting nine.
You agree with
Right.
that, Rich?
I'd only change. I think they're going to sign Alonso, so that would move Vientos to third, and that's going to. I think McNeil's going to get dealt, and I think Acuna winds up playing second base.
I like
Either
that.
Acuna or Mauricio. And the question is, if they deal for Castillo, the Seattle guy pitcher, if they deal for him, how much are they giving up? And the question is, will they give up both Mauricio and Beatty? Which I think might happen.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, I'll ask both of you fellas. Give me the starting five.
Well, you got Jalen Brunson. You got starting five of what? Basketball?
The starting rotation. The
Oh,
starting
the rotation.
Yeah.
Okay. So
What are they
you
up to
got
six guys now with the this newfangled rules where they got 6, 7 guys
yeah,
in the
yeah.
starting?
Well, yeah. Well, a lot of teams are going to go with six.
Uh,
But obviously, you got Manaya, you got Senga, you got Montas, and then you got Peterson, and then it's a host of other guys. McGill. They signed somebody else that I can't even remember who it is. That's how good he is.
Yeah, it's he's from the Angels. It's like Clifford or something like that.
Yeah.
Clifford.
Oh,
He's
Clint
just
Holmes. I'm sorry, Clint Holmes. I forgot about him.
Clay Holmes.
Clay Holmes. So Clay Holmes, I looked at two or three different reports that said he's a possibility. He's a dark horse to win the Cy Young. Can you imagine that?
Would you would you read that on Mets R Us?
No. Sports Speed, and Barstool.
Okay, wow. Dark horse for the Cy. I mean, listen, that would be Stearns. That would probably be his ultimate move of all time if that happened.
well,
You know,
Barstool will definitely wouldn't throw that out there. There's nothing pro Met about them, I don't think.
no,
No,
yeah,
no, no.
yeah.
They're just they're average people. But I think you talk about Stearns, and he's the guy that picked up Quintana and Severino and Manaya, and they all came through. All of them were deep parts of the Met
Yeah. No, yeah.
rotation.
That's another thing. Stearns is the best GM we've had so far in a long time.
I agree.
Our manager and our GM, I finally feel like we have some stability and an owner who's willing to be like, all right, let's do this.
Right.
Let's try the championship.
Hey,
Right.
Rich, what the hell ever happened to Wally Backman? He was like a manager.
He's managing minor leagues, I believe, still.
Yeah,
With the
but
Mets,
wasn't he like on the verge of coming up to the Mets a couple of times
I
and then
think I'm pretty. I don't know if it's the Long Island Ducks that he's a independent league, or if it's still with the Mets. The problem, he had a drinking problem. You're
oh,
not supposed to say that.
well,
uh,
at least you're not saying it publicly.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Actually, you know what? You mentioned him. I didn't see him in that list of people that was there last night on the '86 Mets. I have to find out why.
Wally, yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't you and I go to with Jerry Tierney, a Met thing right after the '86 World Series, like
yeah. We went to
January?
a hot stove bar thing or whatever.
Yeah,
It was
like
like a
January of '87, right?
yeah,
They had just gotten
yeah,
Kevin McReynolds.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst move they made.
You guys were what, about 24, 20? That's it. I mean, that's the time to have your team win a World Series. I mean, your 20s, you can really like, live it
No,
up.
Well,
Rich and I were in our low 20s. We were rocking and rolling then.
yeah, 80 in 86. I think we went to game. I went to game one, the game that Bruce Hurst pitched, and game four, I think it was. No, five. Game five was really exciting. I mean, it's like nothing. And then the season, and then the series before that was against the Astros, right? The Astros,
Yeah.
and that was just Mike Scott. I saw Mike Scott pitch, and I saw got the other one, but it was a rain out game.
Maybe Ryan. Ryan was,
Yeah, I don't know. And then the year after that, we went to the Dodger Championship Series
Okay.
when Mike Scioscia broke our back. He hit the
Oh, you
home
went
run.
to wait the home run?
Yeah,
oh, that
Yeah,
was 88, right?
yeah, that's
yeah,
tough.
Yeah.
yeah. I was working, and I would actually call it. We had tickets to the game the night before. Then it got rained out. The next day, they couldn't decide what time they were going to start, so they said, "Well, we're going to start at 2 o'clock." I never went to work, and I never called them. They just
It's,
didn't show up.
that's the game Lenny Dykstra hit the home run, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, that whole year, even the regular season, you bled your guts every inning of every game.
Yeah.
I think I watched in its entirety about 155, 158 games that year.
That's the way. But and to come out with a championship, I did that with the '94 Knicks. I watched every game up until and they went to the finals, and they lost Game 7. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
Uh,
oh my God, I get through all that. That's what happens.
was that the O.J. Simpson?
Yeah, that was the same year as O.J.
Yeah,
Simpson, and that was the versus the Rockets when
right.
John Starks
When
went
they
two for
when they
18.
cut off when they
Yeah,
cut off.
But in a lot of ways, in '86, that Houston series was more intense than the World Series.
Yeah.
yeah, that was. I have the DVD. I bought the. You could buy like the '86 playoff run on DVD. So I mean, I
Oh,
know sounding out DVDs are not
and,
outdated, but it's cool. It's cool to
and
watch it.
what we were talking about before was the fact that I I kind of put last year's run similar to the '86 run.
Really?
Because and they weren't as dominant as team as the '86 Mets because the '86 Mets won 100 some games. They just grinded out wins. They just found a way to win.
Yeah.
You know.
Rich doesn't remember this, but he and I, when we had a paper route, the Daily News, we used to deliver the Daily News in Parkchester. I remember him telling me one time, he goes, baseball is perfect. You got five teams in each division. You got a president of the division, a president of the league, and then you got a commissioner of he goes, it's perfect. Government should be like that. And now you got what? 712 teams?
Yeah.
We were just talking about that.
League. Yeah.
And who the hell's the commissioner? Does he have any power anymore?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's only one commissioner actually. It's Manfred.
Yeah. Does he have power like
Well, I'm sure he does. Yeah, because he's the guy that decides everything.
uh,
He's
Believe it or not, baseball as a whole, this past year's end was the best ever in the history of baseball.
yeah. I would say
what's that again, Sean?
The attendance, like going to the games, was the best ever in baseball history.
Oh, I,
well,
Which I
and
surprised
the
about
key.
because I thought it was like on a decline to a certain degree, but
Yeah, but the key is adding the more teams into the playoffs because you now created, a
yeah,
lot more runs.
yeah, like
Like
mid-August, still a lot of teams in it. There's still a
yeah,
lot.
yeah.
you don't feel like that detracts from the regular season, Rich? September baseball, if you're in it.
I don't think so. Again, it just gives the other teams a chance. We were talking about the money situation. How some teams just can't do it. Like Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was in it till probably uh, I guess early September, and then they just kind of faded. But at least they were getting, and they had great attendance. People were going out to the ballpark, and they got 3 stud pitchers there.
Yeah,
So
he's a beast.
yeah, and they just, it's like I said, I think that's why I say Arizona is going to go a long way.
A lot of the secondary teams are getting rich off the luxury tax. Thanks to
Yeah,
Steve Cohen, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
you know the story about the A's, right? So supposedly, I mean, I didn't like fact check it. All the owners were they got on the A's owner. He said enough is enough. You keep collecting, and you're not spending any money. His big move was to sign Severino for 3 years, like
Severino.
50 million. He's like a 32-year-old pitcher on his way out, you know.
Yeah,
So
actually, they signed 2 guys. I don't know. There was another guy that they recently signed, but they've made more moves than the Pirates have or any of the other teams. And they really don't have a home. Where the hell are they playing? Sacramento?
who's this?
The A's.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the Pirates, though, they're going to run into that same problem we were saying about the Royals with Bobby Witt. Like that rookie pitcher, the shortstop O'Neill, like they're not going to be able to sign everybody. It's just not going to happen
They won't have enough money.
unless they decide to change and spend the money. But um,
Well, just I don't want to sound like the grumpy old baseball purist, but I am a
do it.
grumpy old baseball
You are,
purist,
yeah.
so why not?
Yeah,
The Mets are sort of kind of the thing I hated the most about the Yankees in the 70s or during the Steinbrenner era. You get what I'm saying? Just go out and buy whatever you need, and that's the end of that.
Yeah. But
yeah.
but their general manager has kind of tamped that down because he really isn't doing it. Although they spent a ton of money with Soto, but if not, who was going to get him? The Dodgers? I mean, God, seriously?
Yeah, the Mets actually, if you look at their team, most of it is from the farm system.
Yeah.
Yeah, they only have 3. I mean, they're major players, but
Yeah,
Lindor.
but with Sean's lineup, Sean, you had about 4 or 5 guys there, 5 out
Yeah,
of 9,
yeah, they're all. I mean, besides Lindor and Soto, the rest of the lineup is homegrown.
right?
Did you, Sean, did you agree with Rich on the starting 5?
Yeah, that's about right. The only thing would be is if this rookie, his name is Sprout, if he is able to impress in spring training to a point where like he overcomes a Miguel, then maybe use him. But that's a wait and see.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly appreciate, Sean, I appreciate you hosting tonight.
Yeah, we were just talking, but yeah, no problem.
And Rich, I certainly appreciate you coming on.
We're just talking.
Now we got to, well, you're talking into a computer. That takes a lot. But anyway, and your son will have to do it again, maybe before the spring training. Keith is also out doing God's work.
Yeah.
But
Did you not have the Mets theme song that you could have played?
I don't want to get a royalty strike.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
Sean?
That's just checking. I know.
We're living in YouTube's world, man. We're all just
Hand to
living in
mouth,
YouTube's
hand to
world,
mouth.
I jaywalk all the time, but God forbid I throw a song on a YouTube video. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and
Sean, good to see you.
Yeah, Rich, good talking to you, bud.
grumpy
All right,
old
man.
baseball guy again. I remember Bob Murphy. Every time I heard his voice on the radio coming from Florida, it was like good for taking an inch or 2 of snow off the ground.
Yeah,
Up here.
36 more days.
Yeah,
And
so it'll be here before you know it. It's almost the end of January already. I feel like
Oh, yeah.
it's crazy.
it was
It's
New
going.
Year's Eve like a half an hour ago.
Yeah.
So,
All
all
right.
right, man. Well, thank
All
you
right,
so
guys.
much for being on. I appreciate
See
it.
ya.
And I'll say it. Let's go Mets.
Well, there you go. There you go. That's what we needed.
All
Mets
right,
for
man.
the
Have a good night.
Take care.